This episode is brought to you by Cellular Performance Institute. Is your body beat up and broken down? Look into stem cells today. It could change your life. Go to cellularperformanceinstitute.com. September, join Sam Tripoli and I on the road for Tinfoil Hat Comedy. October 10th in Tulsa. October 11th in Oklahoma City. November 21st in Las Vegas. Go to samtripoli.com for tickets. See you on the road. I can't believe I won. Chris Paul. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, Eddie, and it's an honor to be here with you.
Well, that's an honor to hear that.
Well, man, you have some pretty considerable balls for saying things in places with large audiences who are initially going to think that's one of the bad guys, that's one of the stupid guys, and to be able to do that and then carry through with it and actually make your point, that's a talent that not too many people possess, and kind of a courage that not many people have.
Well, thank you. And that's a talent I wish I didn't have, to tell you the truth, man. Because back in the day, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't too many people talking shit on Deep State. There wasn't that many. There was like Alex Jones. There was a couple, David Icke. There wasn't that many. And here I am, just a fucking stoner, wannabe rock star dude, talking shit on JRE. And we had no idea how big that fucking show was going to be. And no idea. I always thought Joe Rogan was going to be a massive movie star. When I first met him and we'd start hanging out and we became friends, I'm like, this dude's going to be fucking massive, just based on what I thought of his brain activity. And I was wrong about the movie star thing, but he is probably one of the most famous people in the world, based on his podcast and the UFC and all that shit. But it was scary back then. Back then on JRE, I was always talking about, because I wasn't paying attention to daily politics at all. I gave up on politics because I was like, okay, the Clintons are fucking evil and the Bushes are fucking evil. Yeah. They're both fucked up. So I didn't pay attention to anything that was going on in DC. I didn't know who my mayor was or the governor. I didn't give a fuck. I was really, really into like chemtrails. I was into UFOs and shit, and really into like the Clinton Chronicles and the history of Bill Clinton and the history of the Bushes and, that kind of stuff. I was into, JFK, shit that happened, like 9/11, shit that happened, not daily shit, but shit that happened years ago that was, even to this day, I just watched a new documentary on 9/11, and I'm sure you've seen it.
Codex 9/11.
Our mutual friend, the guy who hooked us up together, John Harold, a.k.a. Patel Patriot. He's like, yo, I usually, people say you should have this guy on your podcast. You should have that guy, blah, blah, blah. But when John recommended you, and I'll be honest, I didn't know, I had never heard of you. I don't really pay attention that much anymore. I like the fact that there's all these new motherfuckers, taking the heat off me, making me irrelevant. I like that shit. You got all these motherfuckers like discovering the truth, and not everyone's right, and there are some controlled opposition. There's a lot of that.
A lot of that.
You hear
I think about that stuff all the time,
dude. You hear about like it pains me to say that. God damn, James O'Keefe. Like, whoa, have you seen there's a documentary?
I haven't paid much. Oh, no, I haven't seen that. So, he was the target of a takedown op at Project Veritas that seemed to be coming from bad places. But my normal standpoint is to assume that everyone is an enemy if they have a voice on screen like that. If they are a television character, I do not just give them the benefit of the doubt, thinking that they're all honest, all thinking things through, all doing what they're doing for the right reason. I gotta wait.
Yeah, man, there's a documentary that just dropped 2 volumes, volume 1, volume 2, Project Whistleblower. And it's about a guy that worked for James O'Keefe. And his name is John Leslie. Fuck, dude. Fuck. Think about this. Think about this. If, let's say, the deep state wanted to, you would think that the deep state would seek out suicidal people and get them to do crazy things. They're already crazy. We got them. Let's manipulate them, get them on some drugs, and they're already suicidal. If suicidal activists or just people that are loud are probably good for the deep state.
Oh yeah,
feel me?
Nihilists in general.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, somewhere on the way to suicide, you end up at nihilism, and that's, I think, the real problem.
Yeah, and how would the deep state, what would be the best way to gather up as many suicidal people as possible?
I mean, I guess having mental illness stuff in school. I don't know what I don't know where you're going with it, but
start a suicidal hotline.
Yeah, I mean,
you know
I guess
what I mean?
I don't. Yeah, I haven't.
Put suicidal hotlines out there, and then suicidal people be calling in and go, "Yo, they just get right."
A terrible honeypot, but yes.
And it wasn't like if how would the deep state? Wouldn't it be smart for the deep state to gather up all the whistleblowers and control them?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Would that
100%.
be a good idea? Would that be a good idea? So how would they do that? It's just like the suicidal hotline, just like that.
Have a guy that's gonna.
Hey, whistleblower, you got something to say? Be brave, be courageous, be brave. And then boom, all the whistleblowers, they say, yo, I know some shit. Boom, they got that guy. Right?
Yeah. And so many whistleblowers historically have actually been regime-oriented limited hangouts. You know, they go out to tell the softened version of the story so that all the people out there who think they're getting close to the truth will stop asking questions. You know, we had a Facebook whistleblower, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Her name was Frances Haugen. And she came out, actually, maybe it was even more recent than that, 2021 or something. She came out and was making all these points about how social media apps affect our young people's minds and cause them to have depression and suicide and anxiety and all these feelings about themselves. That information was out there for like 8 years prior, and it was on like major media outlets. So I look at something like that and I think, this is not a whistleblower. Like the Twitter files, we're a limited hangout. We didn't get like full exposure on the government influence on censorship on social media at all. You know, people call Twitter a free speech platform. I have never bought into that at all. I was banned on there for 2 years, then came back, and I mean, I talk a relentless amount of shit on there. So I understand that they don't really like that so much, but I was suspended 10 or 12 times over the next year. Then I finally deactivated my account because I was shadow banned. I couldn't take subscriptions. I couldn't participate in their ad model. And so I was just like, I don't want to be treated like a second-class citizen. I'm out of here. 6 months later, my account is stolen, reopened, and now Twitter says they can't verify that it was mine, despite me paying for it. So that's where I'm at with limited hangouts. Sorry, I didn't mean to tangent there.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about, man. And fucking scary shit. Hibbler's gonna pull up it's on Rumble. It's on Rumble, and it's called Project Whistleblower Volume 1 and Volume 2. Dude. Just 2 days ago, I discovered it. Scary shit, dude. Scary. So check this out. Watch.
Okay.
See, there's volumes 1 and 2, and boom, and click on it real quick. That shit right there, dog. So basically, in this video, in this documentary, it could be all bullshit. I don't know, dude. I don't know what's true anymore, but it's basically saying, it basically has, like, James O'Keefe got, James O'Keefe. He got secretly recorded by one of his guys, and he is a Bohemian Grove guest. And he's on video, on audio, talking about it, and also talking about Like, cause this guy, the guy who did it, John Leslie, he used to work for Pfizer, and he he um he got brought in by James O'Keefe, and they did a whole thing. He went undercover and recorded some shit, and it had to do about the vaccines being a bioweapon, not having anything to do with health. It's like as a bioweapon, and according to John Leslie, allegedly I mean, it's on audio, dude. He got him. James O'Keefe, and it's scary shit because I love James O'Keefe. I love what he's doing, but it turns out now it's looking like, just like you said, it's a limited hangout, and it's scary shit.
Well, maybe. I mean, I have mixed feelings about James O'Keefe. I definitely have serious doubts about Stu Peters, who apparently made this. But James O'Keefe seems to me like a guy who is disclosing certain things to the public through whistleblower style releases, like that the people he's catching on hidden camera are actually whistleblowers who have come forward who don't want their fingerprints on whatever it is they're revealing. So the conceit is that this thing is just a hidden camera expose. We caught this person saying that stuff, but it always seems to me like it is scripted and orchestrated. Then again, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so
Yeah, scary shit. So let's go through your red pill moment, because you really didn't wake up till like the 2001, correct? But like before that, you were just
no, way later than that, actually.
so let's go through your life. Where were you born?
Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born in upstate New York in the middle of absolutely nowhere, a town of like 500 people. I went to college at one of those Northeastern liberal arts colleges. After that, I moved down to New York City and was living in the West Village until September 1st of 2001. So 10 days before 9/11.
What did you want to be growing up? What did you?
I just wanted to work in sports. And so I was actually traveling through the World Trade Center every day to get to this ESPN subsidiary that operated out of Jersey City.
So you wanted to be like an analyst or a broadcaster?
Yeah, I wanted to be like Chris Berman,
Okay.
It just seemed like so much fun. Yeah, I loved sports. I knew I wasn't going to play sports professionally. So I was like, well, I get to talk about sports and that'll be entertaining. Okay. So I got a job with this company and then ended up moving to Bristol to keep working for ESPN. And then it just eventually like fizzled. I was like, I'm not going, this is not getting me where I want to go. Thought about going back to law school. I was intending to do that. And then a month before heading out on a scholarship to law school, I talked to one of my friends from college whose sister was on a TV show in Los Angeles. And I was like, man, I've always wanted to move to California. What do you think about that? I know we used to talk about it a year or so ago in college. Do you want to do it? He said, let's do it. So I packed my car and drove to LA, started waiting tables. A couple of years in, I was asked to begin promoting parties in the Hollywood nightlife scene, like bars, restaurants, celebrity events. I would do celebrity wrangling for, those corporate events, the red carpet stuff that I'm sure you're familiar with from being in these circles for so long. And so I did that for 15 plus years, right up until 2020. And 2016, night of the election, I had voted for Hillary. I thought that Trump was everything the television said he was. And still, that night, before the night was out, I was hitting up my Trump supporting friends being like, hey, man, you were right. I guess I hope that he does good things, and trying to console the liberals who were going absolutely crazy. And then after the next few years of trying to explore like what the other side actually believes, because everyone I listened to had clearly gotten something really, really deeply wrong. By the time 2020 rolled around, I was like, I see through this scam. This whole thing is a scam.
eye, stem cells, they could do some wild shit down there.
You know, I got the stem cells in my shoulder. My shoulder was jacked. I went down there, worked, man.
Eric Anders' neck was up, and then he went down and got stem cell treatment. Now it doesn't bother him at all anymore.
I definitely recommend CPI. It's changed my life. The best stem cell clinic in the world.
I just come and I do stem cells to make sure that I'm resetting my body and staying healthy.
It regenerates tissue, reduces inflammation. The results are amazing.
CPI stem cells is where you want to go. There's no other place in town. They do the best work in the world. I feel incredible.
If there's anything causing you to not live the quality of life that you like, then this investment is more than worth it.
When it comes to the science of stem cells, no one comes close to CPI. There's not even a close second.
For a free doctor call to see if stem cells is the right option for you, visit us at cpistemcells.com.
Once the COVID thing started, and I could tell that the media was analyzing everything that happened in this very deadly pandemic through a lens of whether or not it would hurt Donald Trump, I was like, all right, I'm out. That's clearly the guy. So that was kind of the launch into the more recent phase
let's
of
back
my
up a little bit. So
awakening.
you moved to Hollywood, and
Yep.
what was the job exactly when you moved to Hollywood? You were
Well, at first I was just
Order?
waiting tables
Okay.
at restaurants in the Valley. And
shit.
some friends of mine who were young actors, young comedians, some of them you would know, we all lived at this house together in Sherman Oaks. And we would have like these parties every couple of months, just invite all the people that we knew from going out or from auditions or from being on MySpace or whatever it was at the time. And so they all kept coming, and we would have these parties with like 150 like attractive, young, vibrant Hollywood people. And eventually one of the guys who was a promoter in LA was like, hey man, do you think you could do this at a club? And then all of a sudden doing that, I was making more in a night than I was making in a week waiting tables. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this for a while.
So you were a
And
club
of course
promoter.
that job had, more or less. Yeah, I would be more involved in like building a community around a place, branding a place, trying to figure out what the entertainment and programming was going to be. We took a pretty serious approach to the aesthetics of what a night at the club is going to be. We weren't like trying to hustle people. We were trying to provide like an experience you couldn't have anywhere else. And so
what were the name of the
we took a lot
clubs?
pride in that.
Where were they at?
first
What were the
one-
cross streets?
The first one was Green Door. Do you remember that?
I do remember Green Door.
Bardau was the next one.
Oh shit, Bardau. Right
Yeah, that
on,
was us.
at Avalon.
Hollywood and Vine, yeah.
Oh my God! Do you know Al? He ran security up until like about a year ago for like 10 years. He was a
I think
jiu-jitsu
I
black belt.
probably did. I knew a bunch of those security guys. I definitely know a guy named Al. I'm not sure if it's the same Al.
Asian looking Al.
Okay. Yeah, I that's not who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But now that you say it, man, I mean, if we sat down and hashed through all those memories, we would align on a million different things.
My band played Bardau a couple times.
Hell
We
yeah.
had, like,
Wait, what
parties
was your
there.
band called back then?
Smoke Serpent.
Smoke Serpent. Okay, awesome.
And I had my rematch against Hoyler Gracie. He's a member of the Gracie family, the famous Gracie family. We had the match at the Peterson Museum. That's where we had it. It was
That's
called
the car museum, right?
Yes, it was called Metamoris in the parking lot. They set the parking lot up like this, with a tent, and it was like had a couple thousand people in there, and it's called Metamoris. And the after party was at Bardau. It was insane. That was the greatest after party ever.
It was such a cool place. We had so many incredible people and incredible musicians come through there. Bruno Mars got signed out of Bardau. We had just incredible performers in there. People who had record label gigs and record label deals. They would come through Los Angeles and they would want to play a show that all their friends could attend. And the way we found that we could do that and not violate any of their contractual agreements with their tours was just make it a free show. We ran a tough door, but they would have the opportunity to play in front of 300 pretty LA tastemakers. And it was an incredible thing for years, man. We had Prince, we had Stevie Wonder. We did some really cool stuff. We went to the Sayers Club after that, and that was where the music part of it like really launched.
Yeah, I even started a riot at Bardau.
No kidding. What happened?
Man, it's a long story, but there was an MMA event at the Hollywood Palladium, and the guy fighting in the main event, me and him had a little rivalry going. That's another story. You know, those like things that happened in our past that we were butting heads. And he had just fought and he won, so he's like backstage and he was all pumped up and he was ready to go. And I was there with a friend of mine, and I went backstage and he won, and there was cameras and everything, and he's all like pumped up. He's backstage, and I went to shake his hand and congratulate him. I shouldn't have did that. You know, the guy hated me. And he got on my face. He goes, "Fuck you, you piece of shit. I'll fuck you up." And I'm like, and it was over like a girl. You know what I mean? There was like a girl in the scene that, you know, she liked both of us. You know, it was like, it was not really a big deal, but
yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but he had just won a fight, right? And I'm backstage, and he still has his gloves on. He's ready to go, or he had like tape. I think the gloves were off, but he had his tape on. And he got in my face, and he goes, "Fuck you, man! I'll fuck you up right here." And I'm like, "Hey, why do you know, what's the problem? What's going on? Why the fuck? You know, I'm congratulating you here." He goes, "Fuck you, piece of shit." So I'm like, "Fuck." So they separated us, and then that was it. And then the guy I was with, we were going to go to the after party at Bardau. That was the after party to the fight show. And my buddy goes, "Dude, I'm not going to that after party, dude. There's going to be some shit because he's going to be there and he's going to start some shit." And I had to go. Like, I'm like, well, I'm going. I got to get this over with tonight. It was a Friday night, and I'm like, you know what? Let's handle this weekend. I don't want to like let this linger. I have to confront this motherfucker. If he wants to throw down, let's do it, dog. Let's go. And I'm not like this tough guy or anything. I'm not looking for fights, but he punked me and he called me out. There's no way I'm not going to that party. We're going to fucking settle this shit tonight. I'm ready to go to jail, whatever it had. Like, I didn't have shit to do for the next couple of days. Let's fucking go. My buddy's like, "Yo, you're fucking nuts, dude. Let's just avoid this shit." I'm like, I can't avoid this. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to confront this motherfucker. Let's just get it over with tonight. And we went to Mel's Diner, the one that was on Highland and Hollywood Boulevard, right there. We went there and ate because it still had, you know, the after party wasn't going to start for a couple hours. And he kept trying to talk me and goes, "Dude, let's just get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? You're going to end up." I go, "Dude, I have no choice. I have to fucking go." And he said, "Okay." So he took me to Bardau, doc, and he dropped me off and left. He goes, "Good luck." And he left me. I'm like, I had to get it over with. I'm like, let's do this tonight. So I knew I was going to run into him, and, you know, I was just going to say, you want to settle it right now? Let's go. And I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a tough guy. I just had to handle this like a fucking man. I didn't want any trouble, but I'm like, I'm going to confront him and we're going to handle this. Maybe we could squash this. Maybe we could fucking talk it out or whatever. But I had to get it over with that night. There's no way I'm going to just let it linger for another week or two. Eventually, I'm going to run into this dude. Let's do it now. So I wasn't going to start shit. So I went and, I bought a drink, and, you know, I was talking to a girl, and, you know, we were, on the dance floor a little bit, and I went to go get another drink, and then I saw him at a table. He was by himself at a table, like a roped off table, like VIP. I'm like, okay, let me just walk right by him. Let's get this fucking shit over with. So I walked right by him, and he called me like, you know, the F word, you know what I mean? And I turned around, and we have a history in the jiu-jitsu world. And we've actually done jiu-jitsu together before. And at that point, like the last time we did jiu-jitsu, I like fucked him up. Like really. Oh, wow. Yeah. You know, but it wasn't MMA, and that guy's an MMA fighter, but in pure jiu-jitsu, I tapped him like 3 times in one round. No big deal. It's just jiu-jitsu, and MMA probably would have fucked me up. But there's no way I was going to back down from this guy. So I walked by, just waiting for him to say something. Just waiting, you know, and I walked by, and then he said, "Hey," and I turned around, I'm like, "What, man?" And he goes, "You're a F," you know, and I'm like, I go, "Dude, you're so confident. I just fucked you up 3 times in one round. How could you be so fucking confident?" And that he exploded, and then people came in and separated us. So I'm like, yo, I go, I'm gonna go to the dance floor. I'm gonna go dance. You know, you want to come hang out? Come hang out. So I just walked away. You know, his friends separated. He's like calling me all sorts of names. We're at the club, and I went to the dance floor with a drink, and I started dancing with this girl. And boom, boom. She go, what happened? I'm like, we're gonna see. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out right now. So they try to calm him down, and a mutual friend of ours came up and goes, yo, he wants you to come to the table. He wants to apologize. And I'm like dancing. I'm like, he ain't gonna apologize. No way. If he wants to apologize, have him come over here. And he goes, no, just come. We got to squash this, dog. We can't have no trouble here. I'm like, I'm not having any trouble. I'm just dancing. If he wants to squash it, have him come to me. So I'm just kept dancing. And then boom, a whole crowd came to the dance floor. And he's like in front of it, a whole crowd. And he says, you know, we get in each other's faces and like, you know, I'm waiting for him to apologize. And he said, fuck you. And right when he said, fuck you, I just with my hand, I just palmed his face and pushed him. And a riot started. Then it was a riot. Everyone's fucking flying all over the place. And I'm like, oh shit, all this. They're like, one of his right-hand man tried to double leg me like right away. As soon as I did that, one of his guys like try to double leg me, and I'm like kind of sprawled on him, and I was gonna hit him with 100%, take his back, but he was on my weak side. I didn't. That was my weak side 100%. So I'm like, oh shit. So I couldn't take his back, so I just pulled guard. So I'm in the middle of this chaos. Everybody's throwing punches. One of my friends got his nose fucking broken. There's blood. People are going fucking nuts. And I'm on my back in the middle of the dance floor with a guy in my full guard. Had him in my full guard. And he's trying to headbutt me, but I'm like holding him, and he's like trying to headbutt me in my chin. And I'm just like looking up going, fuck, someone's going to stomp my fucking head. Holy shit. There's all this chaos going on. And then this big bouncer grabs him and tries to pull him up, but I'm holding him with my legs and my arms. And I go, okay, he keeps trying to pull him up. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to let him go. He's going to pull him up, and then I'm going to up kick his face. So right when he does it, the bouncer goes, let him go. He pulls him up. I open up, and then I up kick, but I barely skinned his shoulder, really didn't do any damage. And I just popped up. I'm like, oh shit. And I just fucking ran out of the club, dog. Cops showed up and everything. And yeah, I never got arrested for that, but I started a riot at Bardau. It just like kind of, you know, what the main focus was the guy who got his nose broken. He was pressing charges. And the main guy who came up to me, who basically started it, really. I mean, I ended up physically starting it, but all I did, you know, it was.
Yeah. What can you do at a certain point?
Yeah. But yeah, that was a long time ago. That was 20 years ago.
I mean,
and now we're cool. The guy who started that, we made up and we're cool. Everything's cool. We let bygones be bygones. But yeah,
man.
It was a long time ago.
That was a weird environment to operate in. And I don't mean Bardau. I just mean all of it collectively, like the LA nightlife scene, bar scene, restaurant scene, event scene, all of that stuff together. I mean, there were points in my work life doing that stuff over those 15 years where I was out 4 to 7 nights a week for 15 straight years, right? That's a lot, man, to be out in that scene, dealing with those people. At one point I had like 5,000 contacts in my phone, and I never realized it, but trying to maintain relationships with that many people is like so taxing. It's exhausting. There's just constant manipulations. You have to remember people's stories, their bullshit or their honesty. You're just always trying to map out, what are these people? Who do they know among these other people? And I feel like I was pretty good at it. And these days, I think that same mental approach works great to handle tons and tons of incoming information and figure out what to do with it. And it gives you an understanding of human nature, man. I see people when they are wasted, when they're getting in fights, after they just broke up with someone, after they just lost someone. And you get people at their most real and their most fake. And I don't long for those times again, but I value what they taught me.
Yeah, man. So what was the first job you got that paid the bills that after the club promoting career was over?
Well,
It
dude,
basically ended like at the scamdemic killed the clubs, right?
that's right. Yeah. That's when my LA nightlife career ended.
That was it. Boom.
That was it.
No
Yeah.
gym, no gyms, no clubs, no fucking beach.
Dude, I used to jog around the Hollywood Reservoir, Lake Hollywood up there.
yes.
And they cut that off. They made it so that people couldn't use the road outside in sunshine.
Yeah.
That was crazy, man. But yeah, that was the end of my career. Just Gavin like that. Done.
How did you end up paying the rent during the scamdemic?
Well, I just immediately started focusing all my time on writing and developing a podcast. I had just started the podcast right as within a couple of weeks of the pandemic beginning. I don't remember if it was before or after. And I was like, I think that I can probably be good at this. I think that I am taking a path through what both of these sides are saying. And I think that I understand what's wrong with each side's case. Maybe I can bring some sense to this. And so I really committed to doing that. At the same time, I had a job that had been offered to take partnership points in this celebrity liquor brand friend of mine. But during that point, there wasn't much you could do. You can't go to bars and pitch bar managers, create new drinks, go out and buy people drinks. You can't do any of the networking that you do as a liquor rep. And so the job was just me going to all of the liquor stores around Southern California to say hi to the Indian dude behind the counter. And I was like, this is for the birds. I'm gonna, and financially probably not a good decision, but for what I wanted to do and what I had to do, I was like, I don't need this day-to-day job. I'd rather be poor and take my life off in another direction. Man, for the entire time I was doing the nightlife stuff, I was also writing, trying to start a career as a writer. And I always wondered if I just took all the time I needed to do that, can I be a starving artist who makes it? And so at that point, I was just determined to let it be what it is. My career's gone. My friends are leaving me in droves because I'm speaking out about what all of us can see is true. And I just had to be willing to take it on the chin for a couple of years.
Are you still writing? Are you still aspiring?
Oh, yeah.
To write?
Yeah.
For Netflix or for what shows?
No, well, I mean, maybe eventually I'll try to get scripts sold in the future. I don't care as much about the entertainment industry any longer. I have spent 5 years trying to figure out why everyone seems to have this mental illness, this retardation, this total detachment from reality that I used to have. And so I've been trying to explore the levels of that and be able to communicate that, to people in a way that might help get them out. Maybe I'm ignorant to think that my approach can do that, but I feel like I've got decent results so far. So
let's say take you back to 2015, 2016. You voted for Hillary. At that point, you didn't buy any conspiracy theories. Like you thought 9/11 was done by the terrorists. You believed the 9/11 narrative. You thought
the 9/11 narrative I never really believed in. I thought that the Bushes and the Cheneys and Halliburton, I knew that there was something to all that, and that the 9/11 story just was not what it was made out to be. I watched Loose Change and Zeitgeist. You remember those docs back then? Yeah. So I watched that stuff, but all I ended up taking away as a path forward was hate the Republicans, hate the Bushes, hate the neocons. Yeah. And so then I got on board with Obama and Hillary extra because I knew how bad George Bush was, which means I knew how bad John McCain was, which means I knew how bad Mitt Romney was. So I figured whatever the other thing was good. And they weren't racist and they weren't angry at homosexuals. And, I was like, okay, this is my side. Neither of them is good, but these are the ones who at least aren't hateful. And those people had something to do with blowing up the Twin Towers. So now I'm just anti-Bush and anti-neocon. Yeah. So I got that far, but I was still in the whole matrix of it, you know? Yeah. I didn't believe the story, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, you know, remember that documentary that Michael Moore put out, like
Fahrenheit 9/11?
Yeah. So you think, now looking back, yeah, so it was almost like, obviously the Clintons and the Bushes were working together.
Sure.
It was like Bill Clinton was working for George Sr. I mean, when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, and George Bush Sr. was the vice president, and then later the president. Well, while he was vice president, that's when all the Iran-Contra stuff was going on, and that's when all the drugs were being brought into Mena, Arkansas. So Clinton, the Democrat, was working for George Bush Sr., the Republican. So it's almost like
a uniparty.
Yeah, it's almost like
I think they're the same thing, man. I think that both party establishments are really just one party, and that party is only leftist, globalist, Zionist. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like something that Ronald Reagan said. Ronald Reagan said, if fascism takes over the United States, it's going to come through the left.
Yeah, and it can only come through the left.
Yeah. So that, to me, that means that it's a little bit harder to corrupt the right than it is the left. Now, the right is like almost all corrupt too, but it's way easier to corrupt the left and come through the left because the right will have Jesus, the right will have God, the right will have like family values, and then the left will demonize Jesus and demonize family values and get an abortion. Yeah. So the left is more atheist and the right is more with God. So the side that's more atheistic is easier to corrupt because they feel like, hey, there's no God. I'm just thinking about myself and greed and all that shit. So I think
there's a lot of people on quote unquote the right though who identify as Christian but don't actually have a relationship with Jesus.
100%.
You know what I mean? And so to me, again, those are still just the same thing.
Yeah.
And you know, when I'm thinking about right and left, I think of it as the continuum between collectivism and anarchy. And another way to think about that is centralization versus decentralization. And if you are not a decentralizer, if you are a statist, if you are a globalist, if you are trying to promote centralized power, it doesn't really matter which political ideology you're supporting to do it. You're already pursuing the wrong things. And so there's like this decentralized collective out there of people just thinking for themselves and speaking for themselves and kind of getting other people to do that. And that, I think, is the true right in America, to the extent there is one. I don't think there's anyone in politics or political media that is actually on the right. Like Ben Shapiro is not on the right. Tucker Carlson's not on the right. They're just globalists who are catering to and marketing themselves to a certain kind of globalist with certain sensibilities. They want to be talked to about God. They want to be talked to about pro-life, but they never actually accomplish anything. The conservatives haven't stopped the progressives from doing anything. They have helped them implement their agenda while portraying to us that they're actually opposed to the agenda. They're not. They're all just profiting together.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying, but nothing is equal. Like the Democrat, it is like it's equally corrupt, Democrats and Republicans. I think most of the Democratic side is just, they're all demons, like especially the politicians. And the few legit politicians, because there's got to be a few. If it was 100% corruption, there would be no need for propaganda. There would be no need to suicide people. There would be no one be, because people like the Clintons suicide people because they're worried about going to jail. So that means there's good people trying to put them in jail. So there's good people out there, and generally the good people, not all, but they tend to be on the right, right?
I agree with that.
They tend to be on the right, but again, the right is fully infested and corrupt. So it seems like if like this evil force, like the deep state, easily takes over the left because they're atheists and they're they just the left. I thought it was a Democrat my whole life. I was like, I don't believe in God. I was atheist growing up, and I didn't believe in God, and I just wanted to party and fucking have sex and just fucking be wild and be a rock star. I wanted all that shit. I considered myself. But then as you get older and as you have a family and you have kids, little by little, God starts revealing himself to you. And
that's what happened to me too.
That's what happened to me. People, one of my mentors growing up, when I was 24, I was a white belt in jiu-jitsu, and there was a guy named John Van Horst. He was like 30, and I was 23, 24, and he had a huge impact on me, and he got me into nutrition and vitamins and how the pharmaceutical, like he got me into like the pharmaceutical conspiracy theories, and how evil big pharma is and all that. And he was teaching me a lot of stuff. He opened my eyes to so much. I looked up to him. He was my first conspiracy theory mentor. And then I hadn't seen him in like 10 years. And then I finally ran into him. We started talking, and he was all into Jesus and the Bible. And I was so disappointed. I'm like, how the hell what happened? What's going on? Like I looked up to you. How could you fall for this Jesus Bible stuff? And he was trying to tell me, he goes, at the end of the rabbit hole, it's Jesus.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I mean, because really,
everything else can be fake. Everything else can be fake.
It's really simple to me. Of course, there's a God. Of course, there's a creator. You can call him whatever you want. I think we live in a simulation. I think
could be
God made the simulation.
I agree.
Whoever created the simulation, that's God. And you don't, and God isn't like I think God, whoever created this, has a personality and is conscious and has emotions. And if I was a God, and I had a realm that I created, I would send in messiahs and prophets and like my son, I would send all that in. Like, so it seems like, oh my God, that's crazy. A man in the sky sends his son in, Jesus, and then he died for our sins. It seems so crazy. But when you think about it, to me, there's a creator. If you think this thing just happened randomly and we're just in this random shit, you look at when you have a kid, that's not random shit. Someone created this, and someone created just the realm that we live in, just the stars, the sun, the moon. They're all connected by some electromagnetic force. Like the sun and the stars and the moon aren't just floating randomly in different directions. It's a clock. We're in an electromagnetic clock. We're electric torus fields. Where electricity runs us. This whole realm is electric. There's an electromagnetic force in the North Pole that all the luminaries in the sky, stars, planets, which are luminaries, in my opinion, everything is just light spinning around us. Everything is spinning around us, and it's all coming from this force in the North Pole. It's like. Someone created this shit. This shit didn't come from fucking like, a big bang out of nothing came all this magical, this Fibonacci series. Like everything is just so perfect. And whoever created this machine that we're in, that's God. You can call him whatever you want. Some people call him Allah. You can call him whatever you want. Krishna. I don't even know all these different Ra. You can call him whatever that is. Whoever created it, you can call him whatever you want. There's a God. And I think, like, why wouldn't he, if he created this, why wouldn't he send prophets and like Jesus and all these to help us out. And who knows what the purpose of all this is? Maybe, I don't know if are you into the Little Season at all? Have you looked into that?
No, I haven't.
Oh man,
I'm not familiar with it at all.
there's, when you got red pilled with the scamdemic that kind of just like blew your head up. Did you ever come to a point like, oh shit, what else did they lie to me about? Like,
oh yeah,
you gotta go
the
back.
last 5 years have been that.
Yeah, like tell me something.
I go back through my entire past to figure out what I've been lied to about. Dude, I literally tried to empty myself of all beliefs until they could be proven to me through direct knowledge, first principles, and sound logic. And that's it. I don't believe shit that I was told. Not in my state indoctrination center, not through the television, not through the television in my hand, not through the television on my desk. Like, that is all mass programming. They even call it programming. And so I tried to rid myself of all of that and start at nothing and try to really focus on my direct experience, my intuition, my relationships with people. It's just an entire paradigm shift. And I think a necessary one because I came to the same conclusions as you. And I did it through total skepticism. I was an atheist till really probably 40 years old, 41 years old. I had gone to college for philosophy and excelled in it. I knew all the atheist arguments. I thought I knew how to knock down all the Christian arguments because I thought it was all about arguments. I was like, well, you can't prove it. Well, what the hell is proof? You know, what are you going to show me evidence from the physical world that God doesn't exist? That's not possible. And it turns out there's a lot of evidence in the physical world that God does exist, including everything you just ran through. One way I think about that stuff is, have you ever heard the quote from Einstein where he says God does not play dice? Like talking about how he doesn't operate in randomness and chance. Well, I say God does play SimCity. God does not play dice, but he does play SimCity. And so we are this iteration of God's creation that God hopes all of us will figure out how to seek him and do the right thing according to God, but do it on our own through free will. And sometimes you just got to wipe the game board and start over. And I think that that's probably happened a number of times. But I think that we are just in an iteration of this reality that God tinkers with from above. I mean, we all believe that God has some role, some direct control of us in our lives. And yet we would reject the notion because of God's perfection that he would actually make changes to his existence over time. But I have no problem believing that whatsoever. And, you know, the view then would be from a God's eye perspective down on us. Does he want to see us fighting with each other? Does he want to see us playing video games 24 hours a day? Does he want to see us jerking off to porn 24 hours a day? Of course not. So all those behaviors are like clearly not godly. You know, those are us corresponding to temptations from the world. And our purpose is to seek God and figure out how to put ourselves in alignment with God.
Does it feel to you that like the world, there's more evil in the world than good?
I think that I think that we have a hard time coming to terms with how much evil there is, but I don't think that there is more evil than good. I think good and evil exist in absolutely all of us, absolutely all cultures, all societies, all communities, all identities, whatever. Good and evil exist in us, and good and evil are acting through us at all times. And it is our responsibility through seeking God to continue on the path of good at every turn when we can, knowing that we're not going to be perfect.
Do you think there's more evil in the governments of nations than good?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah. So it's like
well, they
like the
serve,
governments run the
they
world.
serve
and
the
government-
adversary.
Yeah, the governments. I agree with you. I would say most of governments are evil. There might be there's some good spots here and there, you know.
I don't know where those are. I mean, you would have an easier time convincing me that those good spots are in places like Russia, China, North Korea, and Venezuela, the most hated dictatorships, quote unquote, on earth, than you can convince me that there's an overriding good in the government of the United Kingdom or the World Economic Forum or NATO or the UN.
Yeah. I mentioned the Little Season before, and it's I'm no expert on the Little Season, but I've never read the Bible, just random verses here and there from like my phone.
You should. I'm doing it now for the first time in my life.
Yeah, the Bible. The way I look at the Bible is a 1,000,000%. It's been manipulated over the centuries, and books have been taken out, and things have been manipulated. And why wouldn't a king who's ruling an empire, why wouldn't he say, you know what, we're going to switch this? So I think that there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that has been manipulated and tampered with, but I believe that there's a lot of real stuff in it too. Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, like, how do you figure out which is the real stuff and which is the tampered with stuff? For all your 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu merchandise, please visit 10thplanetjj.com/shop. We also got a Look Into It t-shirt that just dropped. Thank you very much for your support. So I don't know. I believe that the Bible has the answers, but I also believe that it's been manipulated. So I'm afraid to dive in. And personally for me, I'm not like a guy that's going to go to church. I'm not going to. I believe that God and Jesus has been hijacked. This is just what I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe that you can have your own personal relationship with God. Like you talk to God. You don't have to tell anybody what you're saying to God. You just have your own personal relationship with God. And if you believe it, I think that's all you need. You don't need to go to church. But I do believe that there's a lot of good things about going to church too. Like, because if you got if you're in a cathedral or like a church that was like built in like the old world where everything is just like the acoustics and the geometry are sacred, and then you have a bunch of people all meditating on one thing, on peace and love. I believe that's super powerful, because I believe that just one person meditating, and most people believe, like, unless you're a retard, and haven't discovered the power of meditation and prayer, one person can make a difference in your own life. You can make a difference in your own life with your own meditation, your own prayer. Imagine you have 500 people together, and and then they're all meditating on the same thing, and we're all electrical beings. Like to think that there's no power in that's the good thing about churches. If everybody is on the same page, and they're all praying for the same thing, or they're praying for peace or anything good or divine, I believe there's a lot of power in that.
I'm with you on that. But and I'll just say about the Bible with the New Testament in particular. That's the part I focus on, because as you were saying, the idea that a creator would send down his son or send down other prophets or messengers, that makes total sense. But I think Jesus in particular is interesting because he is a worldly human representative of God's perfection that gives us an example that says we can actually understand the pinnacle of logos and virtue, and we can attempt to guide our lives in that direction in everything we do. And we need some human proof of that, because before Jesus, all that counted as morality was whether or not you were following the law, quote unquote. However many immoral things you do, if you go leave your offerings, then God forgives you. It's always just this transactional thing, this trade, always in the world. And I think that it goes to that other level when you get to the New Testament. And I think that that is, for me, the most powerful part of it, because it says there is this pinnacle of logos and virtue. This, if you seek to understand this, it'll lead you to go in the right direction more often, and your life will improve as a result of that.
Yeah, have you heard of this study? And it could be a bullshit study. I don't know. I've talked about it before, but they figured out that each human emotion is a particular frequency. Like I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they did it. Maybe they didn't do it, but the whole it sounds awesome. Like I don't know if they put those electro helmets on someone's head and then they plug it into a computer and then they figure out that fear is a certain frequency, happiness is a certain frequency, like all emotions, whatever emotion you feel is a certain frequency. Love, obviously. What emotion do you think would be the highest frequency? Like you agree high frequency is good and low frequency is bad, right? Like lust will probably be low. It's for sure low frequency, right? But what do you think the highest frequency would be?
I mean, love would be the easy answer, and it might be the right answer, but I think that it's possible to go potentially up from that if we find ourselves like really in like communing with God. If we are focused on God and contemplating God, I think that that probably puts our mind in its peak state in relation to that source and then to the forces that exist in the world. And, there's all this talk about space, and we can talk about space if you want. I'm totally down to talk about space. But it seems like a lot of coded language to describe something else, because the area around us, everything that is above us, all of that is also quote unquote space. And 100 years ago, space meant something different. Space meant the ether, the stuff that is between us. And I think that all that stuff is going to come back around in our world, and that people will start to recognize that, because just like with everything else, science has largely been a hoodwinking. Like we are being deceived at a massive scale about the state and the nature of our own existence.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the highest frequency, according to this study, could be a fake study, I don't know. But the highest frequency was authenticity.
Oh, cool. That's a good one.
So when I first heard that, I'm like, okay, bullshit study. It's got to be love. Like, of course, like love's got to be the highest one. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, the truth, huh? Being authentic is being truthful.
Yeah.
And man, so basically, if that's real, being truthful is the highest frequency. And then like what does it say in the Bible over and over again? The truth is the life. Like Jesus is the truth and the life and the light. Truth and the light, high frequency, right? What's so you'd want to, if you want to vibrate high, love was up there too. But you could also love murder. So love probably, it makes sense that it isn't like the highest frequency. But being truthful, being real is the highest frequency. So what's the opposite of being truthful? Deceiving. So when you deceive and when you lie, that's low. It's got to be low. It's got to be the opposite, right? And what else is low? Low is lust, deceit, and like ego. Anything that caters to the ego, right? That would be like a low frequency.
Pride,
right?
man. I mean, it's just, the 7 deadly sins, and pride is the chief among them, because all the other deadly sins are invariably some version of pride and something else, right? It's a constant focus on enhancing ourselves in the world without any respect for what we actually are and the fact that there's something so much greater than us.
And frequency, what's a frequency? It's vibration. Like we're talking about like science. vibration. Like the frequency is like how frequent does it vibrate? You know, if it's a slow vibration, that's a low frequency, right? And it's like it's as scientific as you can get. And we're talking about emotions. We're talking about emotions how vibrate at a different frequency. And then what else vibrates at different frequencies? Colors. Like each color is a different frequency. Each color is a frequency. And then what else? Like each note of a musical instrument is a frequency. The E note is a certain frequency. It's always the same frequency. Otherwise, it wouldn't be E. It would be F if it was a little higher. You know, D is a different frequency. And then all the 12 notes in the musical scale, every note is a different frequency. And in some notes, even though they're not the same frequency, they vibrate in harmony. So they're vibrating differently. But the reason why E and B sound good together in a chord, they're different frequencies, but they're vibrating, they're making like a harmony. You know, they work together, but not all notes work together. You know what I mean? And it's like the astrological signs. There's 12 musical notes. There's 12 astrological signs. You know, whether you believe in astrology or not, some people go, oh, only fucking, you know, witchy strippers believe in astrology. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah. but there's something to it because there's 12 notes in music. Each note in the musical scale has a family that it harmonizes with, and all the other notes it doesn't harmonize with them. So it's like, you ever notice, I don't know what sign you are, but you ever notice like for me, my sign, I harmonize with certain fucking signs. Like a lot of the girlfriends I've had growing up were certain fucking signs. Like each astrological sign probably has 5 or 6 signs that they harmonize with, and the other signs they don't harmonize with. Because there's some signs that I don't have as friends. I never had as girlfriends, and every now and then I'm on a date with one of those signs, and like we have nothing to talk about. And it's so goddamn weird that you know. And when people have a hard time with religion, they have a hard time thinking like, I ain't gonna worship nobody. Like, what is, you know, what?
That's
like,
pride.
Why would a God? Exactly. Why would God want someone to worship him? What is this whole worship thing about? Why would, well, you know, I'm not gonna worship nobody. You know, if God was real, he wouldn't want anybody to worship him. But I think this is my theory. Because you could worship, because when you worship something, you can't have any ego. How are you going to have ego if you're going to worship something? So the act of worshiping, the act of being a servant, the act of getting on your knees like the Muslims do every day for like 15, 20 minutes, they give up their ego and they pray every day. I was in Kazakhstan. I was hanging out with these guys, powerful guys. And they always like every day they go, we'll be back. We're going to go pray, you know, and they come back in 20 minutes. So every day they change their frequency because they're like regular dudes. They laugh about the same shit. They enjoy things and let their egos run wild sometimes. But they reset every day. And the only way you can worship is by removing the ego. You can't have ego. So the act of worshiping it's kind of like, it's like a workout for the soul. It's a way, it sounds like pride's going to tell you, oh, I ain't going to get on my knees for nobody. That doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't do that. I'm too tough for that. You wouldn't give it up for anybody. And you can't, worshiping like murder is not good. So you're not going to get on your knees and worship murder or worship a demon, right? So but worshiping, but worshiping takes away your ego. It takes away that low vibration. You know what I mean? So who better to do that to and to worship than Jesus Christ? Who better?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He embodies perfection. Like even if you don't believe he was real, or even if you don't believe he existed, even if you don't believe in the Shroud of Turin and that he was crucified, even if you don't believe any of that happened, if you can somehow trick your mind into believing that just for 15 minutes that he's real, and you actually get into a state of worship, you will be vibrating high. So whether you believe it or it's like one of my favorite singers said, he's got a song called that he says, love anything. He said, love anything. Like it was like a message, because just love anything. And if you like truly believe, like in religions, like you gotta have faith. You just gotta have faith. And they go, why do you have to have faith? Why don't we have any scientific proof? You know, because all you need is faith.
Yeah.
Because if you believe it, and you worship it, your ego is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And what's better than it? Removing your ego. So that's how I look at. You know, people always come up to me and like, you know, we start talking about religion. And they're like, if God was real, why would he want you to worship? Well, I think it's just.
I would have done that 5 years ago.
What was that?
I would have done that. Well, maybe not 5, but 6 years ago.
Yeah, me too. I was that guy. Like I've said that for decades. Like, why would God want you to worship him? Now I get it. It's like he doesn't need you to worship him. He just needs you to worship righteousness and worship, you know, what Jesus Christ represents. Whether you think he's real or not, he represents doing, like, loving thy neighbor. What's wrong with that?
Well,
what's wrong with doing the right thing and not being fucking a douchebag? What's wrong with not being a piece of shit? What's wrong with helping as many people as you can? What's wrong with having a big fucking heart? What's wrong with loving animals and loving your neighbor and being nice and helping people out? Like, what's wrong with that? That's what Jesus Christ is about. What's wrong with that? Why not? You know what I mean?
Well, you
want
have
to be a douchebag?
Yeah, you have to reject even the idea that there is some potential perfection of morality and of our ability to think and discern.
What I think is probably the best meat slice in the game. It's called a row drag. Super simple, awesome combo. Before we get to the truck, throw a little pass on top of that. You know what I mean? So we're gonna get really good at that truck transition. How about you get really ninja with the row drag? The knee slice. Push him down, butterfly, boom, bam, boom. Here. 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 And then the fishnet, knee to the stomach, low the handle, break the frames, and then boom. Pull this out, grab my forearm, pop, pop. That's all the best shit from Twister Side Control right there in one throw. You guys want to go back and forth a little bit? Ready? Let's go.
And that's the thing about Jesus Christ, the human form of those ideals. You can believe in those ideals without Jesus. I think that that's kind of a distinction without a difference, because if you believe in those ideals, you already believe in Jesus, right? That is the representative of those ideals. So I think that that's the most important thing. But the question is, what does it mean to reject that, right? What does it mean when you say there is no perfect morality? You know, that immediately becomes moral relativism, and that just means that you can do whatever you want so long as you are able to argue legalistically that it should be okay. You know, and then you just say, well, we all have different opinions. And then you just get to do whatever the hell you want forever. And what is whose ideology is do what thou wilt?
That's Satan. That's
Exactly.
Anton LaVey or Aleister Crowley, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Whether you believe in God or not, the people running this evil empire, they believe in Satan. So
Yeah.
if there's, you know, they believe in Satan. So if they believe in Satan, you don't think they believe in God?
Well, the other crazy
if you
thing
believe
is
in Satan, you believe in God, and the people running everything, the people hiding all the knowledge, all the old world knowledge, and the people at the very top, they know what's up. They know where we came from. They know what this is. That's why they're deceiving us. You know,
100%.
Are you aware of Operation Paperclip?
Sure. Yeah.
What do you know about that?
Well, I know that that's the operation after World War II that dispersed the Nazis around the world. You know, we can go into World War II stuff.
Yeah.
I think so much of that story has been misrepresented to us intentionally to indoctrinate us into certain beliefs, to convince us that we won wars we didn't win, that we represent an ideology different than the one we actually represent. So, I mean, there's so many layers to that shit. But go ahead.
The basic story, and who knows if this is even true, but this is what they say, and I mean, no one seems to dispute this at all. They say, they took half the Nazi scientists went to Russia and half of them went to the United States. And the ones that came to the United States, a bunch of them created the CIA, and then the other guys created NASA.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
Totally.
Hey, Hibbler, are you still there?
Always.
Can you pull up that Robert David Steele where he talks about NASA being not a space agency?
I got you. Give me a minute. Yep.
So there's this whistleblower, CIA whistleblower. His name is Robert David Steele. He's dead now. Who knows how he died? But he this video clip, I don't know if you've seen it. If you have, I'm sorry, but I play it every now and then. But he's not talking about space being fake or flat Earth or nothing like that. He's just talking about the CIA. And he makes it clear. He goes, 90% of the people in the CIA, they're just good people. They're good people trapped in a bad system. The people at the top, at the senior levels, they're the ones that are demonic. So but he's a whistleblower, famous whistleblower. And he said, and he talks about it, he goes, at the end of World War II, during, with Operation Paperclip, half the scientists that we got formed CIA and half formed NASA. And then real quick, he just talks about NASA being, he goes, and we call, in our business, we call NASA not a space agency. It's the biggest form of mind control in the world.
However, let me clarify that 90% of the people in CIA are good people trapped in a bad system. And there are at least 7 CIAs, okay? So CIA is not a monolithic organization. Also, when we, against the orders of President Truman, when Allen Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to 2 places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which in our world we call it not a space agency.
Is that it?
And
there we
as
go.
Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So the point of all this is, have you gotten into? I know because you just awakened, less than 10 years ago. There's a lot to go back and re-examine.
Yeah.
Have you looked into the moon landings at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, the moon landings, the fact that anyone believes that we hurtled through this black infinite void to a rock in the sky and landed on it in a craft built out of shower rods and aluminum foil. And then we called Earth from there, filming it the whole time, and then took off and came back. I can't believe anyone believes that.
Yeah, for sure.
It is like, I would have argued till I was blue in the face that we definitely went to the moon and that you were crazy for saying that we didn't. And now I look at it and just think they conditioned and brainwashed me into total retardation.
What year did do you remember the moment you were like, oh shit, they lied about the moon? Do you remember, do you remember that moment?
I found myself in a conversation in 2020 with a friend of mine, and we were talking about conspiracy theories because she was always a conspiracy theorist, and I was just kind of getting into the whole thing. And she goes, the moon landing's fake, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I had never looked into it. I saw all that shit when I was a little kid. Yeah. I went to the Space Museum. You see the TV shows, you see the movies. Everything tells you, oh yeah, we're on this ball spinning through a black infinite void. I missed that.
What the hell was that? Are you about to play a new video? Oh, the phone call? You're going to play the phone call? Oh, this right here. You've seen this, right?
2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. That's your good.
Joe Rogan even plays that on his podcast. I mean, that is so monstrous these days, that
man
footage.
I watched the other day, I went and looked up the clip of you talking to Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, and Brian Callen about space. And using the eyes I look through now, all I could think was, man, these three are dumb. Like they don't even understand what he's saying. And they were,
I don't even remember what I said.
Callan was basically like, well, you're not a biologist.
Yeah. Now, have you looked into satellites not actually floating in space? Have you looked into
I have no reason to believe that outer space is a thing.
There you
I can
go.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can
Okay,
imagine
there you
that
go.
there are things floating in the sky. I mean, we see things in the sky. The sky is there. We fly through the sky.
Yeah.
No one's denying the sky, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the thing that people are denying is that out of nowhere, after thousands of years of people believing the other thing, all of a sudden they were like, you know what? Those aren't lights in the sky. Those are far away planets. And they have all of these different qualities. This one's this color, and this one's got these gases, and this one is 93 million miles away. And you're like, well, did you go look at any of them to make sure? And they're like, no, we just figured this out through theoretical physics and math. Like, that's not true.
Yeah. Did you know that satellites, they exist, but they've always been on balloons? They started on balloons, always been on balloons, and they're on balloons now. Like in the 50s, there's video footage of like military satellites in the 50s taking off, and they're on big helium balloons. And then in the 60s, that's when they started they started saying, hey, you know what? It'd be better if we put these satellites up in space. We could get them to float in space, but it's going to cost like 1,000 times more.
Well, then no one can check on them.
Yeah. So meanwhile, they were always on balloons. They were never in space, but they charged for space satellites. They didn't charge for the balloon satellites that were a lot cheaper. And now everybody's figuring it out now over the last like 15, 20 years. So now they're making it seem like we got to go back. Oh, this is the new thing is we're going to put satellites on balloons. It's going to be cheaper, and it's going to, we're going to give the internet to the whole world for free and all this shit. So now they're making it seem like it's a new thing that they're on balloons now. They're making like big, like high level documentaries and putting them on BBC. Like the satellites of the future will be on balloons. Meanwhile, they were always on balloons. They were never in space.
Yeah, I mean, you could also. I keep my mind open to the fact that satellites might not be real. Like it's possible that they just influence energy fields and ether fields with technology that they've had for a long time that we've never been told about. I keep my mind open to everything, man. I don't even think that we necessarily need satellites. It's just an explanatory layer to tell people that there is some reason that these communications are possible, but it's not ether, it's not frequency, it's not any of that, it's not free energy, none of that stuff. It's actually this other thing that we came up with, and we know because we have scientists.
Damn, I never thought of that. Like what if that's the truth? Like they're just putting them up, they're putting them up on balloons just to get you to think that's where all these all this information comes from. Like maybe it is that. Like cuz how could they really? They're on balloons. We know they're putting them up on balloons, but who knows what the fuck they're for? They could be for like maybe they're just like weather balloons or some kind of shit.
The Sky Circle event, I used to call it the Sky Circle. Remember when they floated that big white balloon over Canada and then the United States, and then it finally made it off the coast of the US, and then it was safe to take it down with our fighter jets? Remember that retarded story from like 3 years ago?
Yeah, the Chinese spy balloon.
Yeah, the Sky Circle is what I call it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, man, dude, you just went another level. I didn't even think about that.
Dude, I always try to explore what the next level is because every rabbit hole I've ever gone down that is a fruitful adventure, and I approach it like with ultra skepticism. I say which parts of this aren't true. And if I can keep finding that, man, the farthest down I go, I still find other layers beneath it. And again, this is the same regression that you talked about earlier. At the bottom of all of that is God. At the bottom of all of that is Jesus. Because at some point you're just like, well, I can't actually prove any of this worldly shit at all. So there has to be something else under that that represents truth, but I can't access it.
Yeah. So you don't obviously you don't believe the Earth is or the sun is 93 million miles away, right?
I think that the sun being 93 million miles away is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard.
Totally, right?
You can look into how they get that measurement, and the measurement already presupposes the rest of their heliocentric model. So of course it's going to yield the answer that they say.
It has to be 93 million miles away, because once they start a certain model, like they make up the Earth's radius, then they have to, okay, if this is 5,000 miles or whatever the radius, I'm not sure what the radius, what they say the radius of the Earth is like 4,900 miles or something. Then Venus has to be, if the moon is 250,000 miles, then that must mean Venus must be this. And then the sun's got to be, based on our numbers, it has to be 93 million miles. And then Polaris has to be fucking 100 light years away or something. So the numbers, it just has to, it's like, it's like, they started something that they can't fucking control. And like they're saying, Mars is 140 million miles away, and we're sending doom buggies and taking these perfect HD video and pictures like, we discovered ice on Mars. Like, 140 million miles away. You know how far that is? When you look at the sun, like they're saying, you can just look, you can see the sun. It's right fucking there. And you're going, dude, that's not 93 million miles away. Like, the sun looks like, who knows if the sun's actually really there? It could be a reflection off the firmament or some kind of shit. You know? But it looks like, I would say, if I had a gun to my head, I would say the sun 3,000 to 5,000 miles away. I go, it's maybe even closer. It's 93 million miles away is insane.
Yeah, I certainly don't have an answer, nor would I suggest that I do. But yeah, 93 million miles away is insane. There's no reason to actually believe any of it. None of them have ever checked in any direct manner. We just always have to assume that their assumptions are true. And they present it that way because they create these internally consistent systems. And so every element of the system plays off another element in the system, and they layer a complete falsehood onto what we observe as reality. And as long as they give us a plausible explanation and give us enough incentives to believe it, enough punishments for disbelieving it, we're going to believe it. We're going to go along with it because everybody else goes along with it.
Yeah, and NASA's making so much goddamn money, and it's money they don't have to show anything for. They just have to have enough money to keep the International Space Station green screen room together. Like, I bet when they first started getting the $19 billion a year, they would go, okay, we got to save $1 million to keep this International Space Station green screen shit going. And then like over the years, the budget gets lower. Like, oh, we only have $200,000 for the green screen this year, dog. People are just start siphoning the money out. And then they get down to like every year they got like $15,000 for the green screen. That's why it looks like shit. Like you would think, because movies like when you watch a movie like Interstellar or all these highlights, that looks so good. Why don't you do something like that? It looks so real and so perfect in HD, but I think the money just gets stolen year after year, and the budget just keeps going down. I'm telling you, they say
it's hilarious.
It's like $20 billion a year, but they steal all of it except for 7,000. We got to keep this ISS shit going.
I can get on board with that. Did you like the Gilligan's Island in space narrative that they gave us like 6 months ago. These teachers are stranded on the space station and only Elon Musk can rescue them.
Oh yeah. That
was so retarded. And then the Amazon rocket. Like, dude, I really believe there is at least some chance that we are being shown all these things in such ridiculous, preposterous, failure, discrediting sort of ways, so that we'll be like, oh, all that shit is fake. And instead, people just believe it harder.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't wake us up. They can't wake us up because we won't let them.
Yeah. How about when Elon, do you remember when Elon launched his car into space? At that point, were you already awakened? Or did you buy it for a second?
I did not. I thought that was a publicity stunt. I didn't think about it a whole hell of a lot. I didn't think, oh, that's fake. But I mean, I'm sure that you know the famous quote from Elon in that event, and I won't step on your line.
It's actually in the intro to this podcast.
Oh, cool.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. Oh, dude, that was perfect. Look at that. I thought when this shit was gonna happen, I go, dude, they're gonna make it look really good. They're gonna fool everybody. I really thought, I go, Elon's gonna put this shit together. Oh man, it's gonna look good, dude. They spent like $1,800 on that shit.
Sometimes I think Elon is just there to clue us into the fact that all of this science and technological bullshit that we've been fed for however many years is just nonsense. Like you've got Tesla, right? A company that is producing next generation energy transmission and storage technology and doing the full driving, right? I can't remember what it's called, FDS or something like that.
Self-driving?
Yeah, full self-driving. Yeah, FSD. Yeah. So that's I mean, an AI program that's just gathering information and improving AI over time. So those are important technological things, I guess. But at the same time, Elon Musk has convinced huge parts of the world that the climate change thing is not what it was cracked up to be. All of a sudden, all the climate change leftists, as soon as Elon Musk buys Twitter, all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't need those cars anymore. Like first those cars were going to save the planet. Now we don't need them anymore.
That's what I thought Trump brought in Elon for. He got buddy with Elon to kill the electronic car game. That's what I thought. I go, because Trump's got to know that whatever he promotes is gonna, they're gonna go after it and try to kill it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I
don't know.
He went, but I was in Kazakhstan hanging out with some powerful people in Kazakhstan. I was hanging out with this one guy who is a gold miner. Like he was telling me the whole gold mining business. It was fucking crazy, man. And he told me that China is about to unleash an electronic car that doesn't need to be recharged. The battery lasts for like 20 years.
Well, and it can charge over the air. That's going to be something that is common. Like our cell phones will charge over the air because that's just the direction that we're heading in. Yeah. Man, the gold mine thing is interesting. Just the other night, I was talking on one of my shows about this, and I've talked about it a few times in the past. But do you have any thoughts about diamonds?
You hear that diamonds, there's a shit ton of them, but they have to pretend like they're rare to keep.
Right. Yeah. So think about this. So you can go on the internet right now. Hibbler can find this. These services that will take human remains and turn them into a diamond, right? Because this diamond is like this super compressed carbon matter, right?
When the threats started coming, I realized I needed to leave. And again, I had no plan. I had no job. I was very scared, and I came out in a time that I knew, regardless of what happened to me, I was going to be on the right side of history.
You can no longer call something a conspiracy theory when Harvard, Bill Gates, and a CIA director are all calling for these programs to start.
We have barium and strontium and aluminum and nanoparticles. I think some of these technically incompetent politicians don't understand what a nanoparticle is.
Don't you want to breathe clean air?
What I do see is massive evidence that we are exposed to an immense chemical soup of man-made poisons.
It's going into our water supply, it's going into our nose, it's going into our mouth, it's settling on our skin.
If you just take the time to look up, it becomes undeniable.
We the people have not consented to being test subjects.
Your own government's doing it.
They're spraying us like bugs, like cockroaches.
That doesn't raise any flags? That doesn't make you think? Scratch your head? What's going on?
Poof! There's all the aluminum over this concentrated area.
You have everyone looking up at the sky. I mean, it's literally over our heads.
This organic matter that now takes on diamond form. And so lab-grown diamonds and natural diamonds, quote unquote, are indistinguishable. I've talked to jewelers about this, like totally indistinguishable. They have to use their little spectacle to see them. And all they're looking for is a serial number that is supposedly etched inside this diamond that no one besides a jeweler can ever see. So that's the first problem. They started being able to make synthetic or manufactured diamonds around the 1940 range. And that's the point at which the Oppenheimer family went down to South Africa, discovered these diamonds, and then there was a massive global ad campaign to convince us to buy diamonds and then put them on the fingers of the people we love. And all I can think now is that diamonds are people, my friends.
Yeah. How crazy is that? I just watched a video of this. I don't know who this lady was, but she was talking about organ harvesting and how big it is worldwide. China, Israel, Ukraine, and the United States are the top dogs in organ harvesting. And she's saying that war is huge for organ harvesting because they'll take injured soldiers and they'll just fucking take their organs. Oh yeah. And they can make each soldier's worth $1 million. They'll take some kidneys and take some lungs. Yep. And she's saying, she has proof for all that. And this video that I saw, I posted on my stories, man. It's crazy. They show the video of bodies, the bodies left over after the organ harvesting and what they do with the body. She's saying that the bodies are used for food. Wow. They grind that shit up. She said, I don't have proof of that, but it's kind of wasn't there a movie called Soylent Green or a movie? Yep. And it was about that, right? It was about
Soylent Green is people.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that would not fucking surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me either, but I think maybe they if they can turn them into diamonds and then sell them to people.
That'd probably be more, right? Yeah, it could be that too. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the body parts. Certain body parts are, let's just turn that into ground beef and sell it to McDonald's.
Right. And then I do worry about that. Man, you mentioned the war aspect there for a second. One of the things that I think one of the moments, how you have those moments that send you off into a new level of waking up. You're like, oh, damn, that's what that is. I had one of those about wars and stuff. You've seen Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, right?
No.
Oh, great doc.
Is that a doc? Okay.
Yeah. It's worth watching. But one of the things that it talks about in there, and one of the things we've kind of heard for a long time, is that the global bankers fund both sides of the war. And I was always like, why would they do that? Why would they have one side that they're supporting and the other side that they're supporting and just let them kill each other, that's going to like destroy half their investment one way or another. That doesn't make any sense. And I could never wrap my head around it. And now I'm just like, oh, war is what happens when this centralized controlling global force loses control over various countries. And the solution is to convince everybody that they are pitted against each other and then take all the brave and patriotic men from each country and systematically destroy them on a battlefield.
That makes sense to me.
I mean, that's what we're watching
It's
in
kind of
real
like
life.
it's kind of like when two countries go to war against each other. It's kind of like like Mike Tyson is Republican and Evander Holyfield is Democrat, and then the bankers are Don King. You know what I mean?
The ones
Right?
getting paid
Yeah.
without having to.
Yeah, they're funding both sides, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter as long as they're gonna make a lot of money from the actual fight, the actual war. Doesn't really matter who wins.
I don't even think about country versus country at this point anymore. I talk about, I describe it as good twin, evil twin. It's very hard to separate these things and tell them apart because they look like each other. And there's one layer that's the true layer and the other layer that is a falsified layer that matches the true layer, right? It maps onto the reality that we experience, even though it's totally a lie. If you think about the centralized global control system, that thing exists in every country. And in every country, there's the good twin side of that, which is all the people that are not interested in the centralized global system, right? So that's the real push and pull. That's the war. And that war never ends because just like we were talking about before, it's the collectivism versus the anarchy. It's the centralization versus the decentralization. It's the worldly versus the godly. We have this difference in all these places. And so the important thing when I'm looking at geopolitics is which party, which group of people, which motivation is going in the direction of decentralization. And when you look for that, you can actually find all of these alliances clearly working together to defeat that centralized global system. And I think that we're watching kind of the end stages of that now.
So you have hope.
Oh yeah, man. I'm extremely optimistic. Okay. But what really is going to win the day is people being willing to get to the point where they can release their ego and say, you know what? I'm pretty much wrong about everything or could be wrong about everything. So I need to put it all aside, humble myself to the maximum extent possible and start building back from there on like a more solid foundation, you know? We all have to do that at some point in our lives. And the people who resist that are the ones who are really fighting on the side of the enemy, whether or not they know it. You mentioned the Satanism thing before. There's a lot of people who are out there participating in the rituals through which our masters worship Satan or worship that evil or worship the world or whatever it is. And they don't know they're even participating in the ritual. You know, when they're screaming at the Super Bowl or at a concert, these things don't feel like us to rituals or feel to us like rituals, but to the people staging them, what are they?
Yeah. Do you think we're approaching day by day being finally liberated from Israeli control?
I think that is well within the range of possibility. I consider sometimes that there might not even be an Israel after this. And if you think about what Israel actually is, it is a global regime proxy state in the Middle East that the United States protects, right? It was created 76 years ago as the result of two world wars that were both fought for the sake of Zionism, of creating the regime proxy state in the Middle East. They had a number of other locations where they were prepared to do that. And they've created other similar proxy states. Ukraine is one of them. Taiwan is one of them. And so they put these proxy states in position all around the world. And this one gets protected because we are told that's the biblical Israel. And so that is God's chosen people. And we just have to do whatever they say. You know, sure, we're not supposed to murder. Sure, we're supposed to love our neighbor. Sure, we're supposed to turn the other cheek. But you know what we need to do? Incinerate 1 million Iranians so Israel feels safe again.
Yeah. Sometimes I think like, what if the controllers want everyone to blame Israel for everything, but really
could be that too.
Really, it's like the United States, States and UK. They created Israel, right? And what if they created Israel to be the scapegoat? Like they go, man, we're sending so much money to Israel. What if they're sending themselves the money? They're like, yeah, it appears that we're helping Israel. But really, it's like our own corrupt government. That they're sending themselves the money because I think Julian Assange said we use Afghanistan to run money through. What if we use Israel to run money through? And maybe they're laughing at the top, going, "Everyone's blaming the Jews, everybody's blaming Israel," but that's the way they want it. They want them because, like you said, it seems like, man, maybe Israel won't even exist as with the government that it has now, because everyone's turning on the Israeli government. And it's like there's a big spotlight on it now. Like 10 years ago, you couldn't talk about it. Otherwise, you'd get canceled and you'd be labeled anti-Semitic. But now everyone's talking about how, Netanyahu is a, warmonger, running everything. Everybody's blackmailed through Israel. It seems like there's a gigantic spotlight on Israel, and just like how do you feel about Trump? I mean, Trump seems to be like, on the surface, it seems like he's super pro-Israel, right? And maybe he is, but I'm just hoping that's just to put the spotlight on Israel. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I think that there's absolutely a pro-Nazi op that is being run by the same people who run all of the other ops because they want to have this dangerous opposition out there so people know about it so that their true enemies can be associated with those people and they can play in this controlled opposition dynamic between oppression and the oppressed and the oppressors, right? They need both sides of that all the time. And if there is no actual oppression, they need to create the oppressors. So of course there's incentive to push those beliefs out there for sure. In terms of the control system, I think it's absolutely the same thing. I think that Five Eyes intelligence and Israeli intelligence clearly work together. That's just an enhancement of the same global regime's agenda. They implement it in all the countries around the world. That's the point. Of course, they work together. They're pursuing a common goal. And, the identification as Jews, the idea that this stuff is anti-Semitic, we don't even know that those people are Jews, right? You just can't know that, okay? You can go to the academic work. This book, 13 Tribes by this guy, Arthur Kessler, argues that the Khazarian mafia actually simply moved down to the Middle East. I read a book last year by a liberal, secular, atheist Zionist who was an academic. The book he wrote is called The Transfer Agreement. It's now been released in 7 editions, so they keep updating and revising it. People from the ADL write the foreword and the epilogue. Like, it is very much part of the mainstream Jewish story, right? It is approved of narrative stuff. And that entire book is about the negotiation between the Zionists on one side and the Nazis on the other to confiscate the property of European Jews and then transport them down to Palestine to set up Israel. Like that's legitimately what the entire book is about. And it's well-established historical fact. It's called Havara, the transfer agreement, that there was actually that partnership. And in reading that book, I was like, oh, well, if they partnered on anything at all, and it says explicitly like the German government would have collapsed had it not been for Zionist investments in this program. It's like, wait a second. They could have just collapsed. And the culmination of the whole story ultimately is they're like, we had to engage this incredibly awful partnership, but it ended up getting us the Jewish home, and therefore it was all necessary. Like that ain't the story we're taught in school.
What's that?
That's the Havara agreement.
You want to read that? What part is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about a book by a man named Edwin Black.
I'm sorry, man. I thought you were talking about.
No worries. But this
isn't this the same thing?
This is the substance of that book. I mean, we can read this. The Trust and the Transfer Office, Havara Limited, places at the disposal of the banks in Palestine amounts in Reichsmarks, which have been put at its disposal by the Jewish immigrants from Germany. The banks avail themselves of these amounts in Reichsmarks in order to make payments on behalf of Palestinian merchants for goods imported by them from Germany. The merchants pay in the value of the goods to the banks, and the Havara Limited pays the counter value to the Jewish immigrants from Germany, and that's upon arriving in Palestine. To the same extent that local merchants will make use of this arrangement, the import of German goods will serve to withdraw Jewish capital from Germany because they couldn't convince European Jews to go down and settle Palestine. They didn't want to uproot their lives and lose everything that they had worked for. And the book is 500 pages long. It goes deep in depth on all these things. But the thing was, Zionists were actually at war with other Zionists to win the business partnership with the Nazis to do this. It's crazy. Like they're like assassinating each other and shit.
Yeah, that's the one thing about evil people and like cabals is like they have no problem stabbing each other in the back. You know what I mean? It seems like that new documentary on 9/11. It goes over how the CIA trained and funded Osama bin Laden and I forget what it's called. Before it was Al Qaeda and the Taliban was like Mashu Hadid or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? It was, and they were trained to fight the Soviets, and then they turn on them, and then they make them the boogeyman. You know, and all of a sudden, people thought Alex Jones and William Cooper were like psychic and prophets for talking about, months before 9/11, they were going, they're going to do something. They're going to do some kind of false flag, and then they're going to blame it on Osama bin Laden. They're setting it up. Look what they're doing. They're setting up Osama bin Laden. When you look into it, it was like, if you would have been looking into it deeply back then, anybody could have figured that out because it was obvious. They were putting Osama bin Laden's name out there. People just weren't paying attention, but Bill Cooper was, Alex Jones was, and that's why they said it. They look like prophets to go, yo, this is a big setup. They're going to do something. They're going to blame it on Osama bin Laden. And they said that in June. And, just a few months later it happened. And then they put it all on Osama. They like trained him, they funded him, and then they fucking threw him under the bus. That's
what they do.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like if the CIA is like funding you, they're gonna fuck you too. They're gonna
At some point, you're not going to be useful to them in the way that you've always been useful, and they'll find a new way to make you useful.
Yeah. So are you on? You still have faith in Trump, or are you losing?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but see,
what do you think about him wearing a yarmulke and kissing the wall and like? It seems like he has like these two Israeli handlers, like I forget the Lutnick or something like that. Like
Lutnick, yeah,
like and all these ties, and then they lent them $1 billion, all these Israelis, and it seems pretty scary. You know, but then you watch X-22 and you're like, everything's okay. And then you watch the mainstream news, like, oh shit, you know, and so many former Trump supporters and people that were all MAGA, they totally lost faith in Trump and they think he's a shill, Zionist shill, and like all that stuff. Like, you think that's optics? You think that's just like undercover shit?
I do think that is optics. I think that what our enemy wants to do with this period is run that same World War II narrative playbook again, making Trump Hitler, making all of us the Nazis. They've been pushing that now for a decade. And so the only way to make it clear that you're not that is to have these viral moments, these things that everybody sees. There's no way that any person with the minimum amount of sensibility who is not crazy Trump deranged, there's no way they're going to think Donald Trump is Hitler. Like, if there's one thing Donald Trump is not, it's that thing that we were told Hitler was, right? Yeah. He's not the most evil person of all time. He's not trying to exterminate the Jews. Nobody would say otherwise. What he does have is a moderate approach to the whole thing. And I think he has a partnership right now with Netanyahu to some degree, because Netanyahu, just like Donald Trump, is being attacked from both sides in Israel. The neocon element is over there trying to extend this war, to make it more deadly, to keep that part of the op going. And then the left side of that dynamic is doing the same thing that they do here with BLM Antifa. They're running color revolutions against him. They're trying to change the court system in Israel so that they can override his power. And he is just stuck there. He's not going anywhere. Just like Trump's not going anywhere, Putin's not going anywhere, she's not going anywhere. None of these people are going anywhere, okay? Because in our world, for real, power is not determined by elections and by this like weird international law process. None of that shit is true, man. The person in power is in power because they took power. You know what I mean? The entities that are in power are in power. You don't take power through an election. That's not even possible. Like, come on, our elections aren't even real.
But Trump was elected.
Well, Trump was put in the place he's at twice as the result of stories about elections, okay? The election in 2020 was a fake election. There's no proof anywhere in the world that Joe Biden received 81 million real lawful American votes. No one even really believes he did. Everybody knows that there are at least some problems, but we're not allowed to check. There's no reason to believe that our election systems are capable of yielding credible results, okay? The machines for a long time, people know that those aren't credible. The greatest experts in our country at the election machines say that they cannot produce reliable results. We know that it's media reporting. We know that it's narrative supported. We know that something else was going on behind the scenes for the last 4 years while Joe Biden was pretending to be president. Yeah. You know, but at no point have we had real elections. I made this argument extensively on my podcast throughout 2024. And I also said, there's no way that Donald Trump can lose. It cannot be reported to the American public that Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, because no one would ever believe it, right? If they tried to pull that off, everyone would know immediately, okay, these elections are definitely fake. We thought they were fake in 2020. Now they're definitely fake. And so they gave us the narrative about Donald Trump winning. They had no choice whatsoever. And down ballot, at the state level, at the local level, at the level of ballot initiatives, the things that they put on for voters to vote about, they steal all that shit. So they have an entire government capable of keeping the same agenda rolling and subverting Trump, regardless of whether Trump is the president or not. Okay, so the elections, man, it is just a show and a psyop like everything else. We could talk about elections alone for like 3 hours. It's crazy.
So you're what do you think about Q? What was Q?
I wrote a long thing about this in 2022, I believe, in the spring of 2022. It's on my website. You can find it. It's called A Story About Reality. It's in many parts. I think that the Q operation was a psychological operation, one way or another, maybe run by the good guys, probably run by the good guys. It seems like that, but maybe run by the bad guys. Regardless of that, what it did was get people investigating and researching all of these issues and figuring out that on all of them, they had been deceived and that there was some other truth out there that we could find. So I think that it made the kind of truth movement and I think it opened people's minds and sent the truth movement off on a path to popularity that it wouldn't otherwise have taken. And so I think whether it's a good psyop or a bad psyop, all that matters is how we react to it. So I don't try to get too deep on it. I think that it's information among other information. It can lead to all sorts of awakening, all sorts of analysis, all sorts of realizations. But in terms of like the people going on and playing match online and connecting things with little red lines and all that, like I don't, unless they're going to tell me what the proper meaning is of what they're doing, then that stuff's just like fluff, you know? Like, what does it mean that these things match?
Well, sometimes it's easy to tell. You know, sometimes it's
sometimes. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then other times it's like we're dealing with a bunch of anonymous fortune tellers online telling us, oh, I know what that is because Donald Trump speaks to me in secret code. So there's like, there's a way to go too far with it. I think it's valuable information. I think it can be a really positive force in the world. I think it's probably brought a lot of people to the awakening that ends with Jesus Christ. So to all those extents, it's really good. But there's also a way that people use it for bad. People refer to it as though it's scripture. They trust Q more than they trust God. It's a very weird dynamic. I think, like with everything else, the good exists and the bad exists, all packed into the same thing.
The most important thing about Q, though, whether you know you believe in it or not, is like who is behind it.
That's right.
That's fucking important because I mean, if it's because some people think it's like a Bolshevik psyop that they did before.
That's the Operation Trust thing.
Yes. Some people think it's that, and maybe it is. You know, but then some people think that it's legit and it's real.
Yeah.
And for me, we're back. In 4 years ago, did you consider yourself a Q tard?
No. Well, I've never gone like that far with it. I started looking at it, I think in August or September of 2020. And then immediately you kind of fall into going along with the Q influencers. And there is a Q influencer op that pitches as much disinfo as the people who watch MSNBC, because of course there is, And so I never used it that way. I would read the posts, think about what they could mean, do research when I didn't know what the posts were talking about. I'm not even sure that I've read all the posts, but I've come to a lot of the same conclusions. And some of that is because the Q operation in general injected so many new ideas that eventually became mainstream that many of us have adopted those ideas. So upstream, it's the Q op, and that's a very interesting dynamic. But I don't put too much stock in the Q analysis that is consistently produced on the internet for all these many years. But Donald Trump and Dan Scavino have definitely signaled at Q before, right? They've used the same coded language in ways that are going to make people connect them. And so are they pointing out an adversarial op when they're doing that? Or are they just giving us hat tips and saying the thing we're about to say is in code, and you can go either way on those things.
Yeah, you would think if it was a psyop, like a Bolshevik, trust the plan psyop, why would they go so hard against it? They went really, really. I mean, HBO did a documentary on it. Even
is that them going against it though?
What's that?
Is that them going against it?
They're making everybody look like
advertising?
retards.
Well, think about it this way. Michael Moore, when he made Fahrenheit 9/11, thought he was taking down the neocons. But as you said, it's two sides of the same coin. And he was serving the system by cementing the official story about 9/11. It didn't matter what his opinion about it was. It was that he believed the story of 9/11 the way it was told, and he's going to tell you why it makes George Bush the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that same thing with any of these issues, and that's exactly what they do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I never looked at it that way. That is true. Because even though Michael Moore was, his focus was making the Bushes look bad, and he basically opened a lot of people's eyes to the whole picture, and so I didn't look at it.
If you wanted to make the whole Q thing look bad, right? If it just was a bad thing, and you wanted people to adopt a false belief system, right? Mm-hmm. What would you do? How would you go about it? Well, you would present it very well to them in ways that appeal to them, and you would have it opposed by those people's enemies, right? So if the Democrats and MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times are all like, QAnon is this and QAnon is that, well, anybody who realizes it's not that is going to be like, no, QAnon is good. And through the conflict, they are able to create the image of this thing that they ultimately want, and they're able to get people fully on board with these ideas. And they run that psyop on us over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So to think that they might have run it there too is not a stretch for me.
Yeah, I see that. I didn't look at it like that before.
I don't think it's wrong, man. Yeah. I think it's good to look at. Yeah. Like I talk about information among other information. It's like, oh, okay, I know that thing now. I'm going to add that into the mix. I'll think about it. I'll pay attention to it, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to go believing it in full.
Yeah. Some people think Trump and Hillary and Kamala and Joe Biden they're all on the same team, and they're just playing
yeah,
they're actors. Some people think that, but to me, it doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't make any sense. Because if that's the case, if they're on the same team, they wouldn't even need Trump. If they're all on the same team, they would just keep doing what they were doing, run a Republican, run a Democrat. They're both, a rhino like Mitt Romney against fucking Obama. Like, it doesn't matter. They could have just kept doing the same fucking thing. There wouldn't be a need for all these people awakening, because now there's more anti-vaxxers than ever before.
Yep.
Now there's more people that calling the mainstream news fake news. Like, why even go through that? You could have just kept doing the same fucking thing, kept everyone asleep. But what actually awakened people was, whether you think Trump is a Zionist shill or not, it awakened a lot of people, because a lot of people that are against Trump now that were for Trump, I mean, they were for Trump. And then boom, now they're against Trump and think he's a Zionist shill. And it is scary with all his Israeli connections and him kissing the wall and all that shit.
Yeah.
That I don't like that shit. So I don't know,
I get it. I'm on board with that.
I'm hoping it's like what he did with vaccines, because if you pay attention, he was always anti-vax. He was always anti-vax. Look at all his old tweets. He was always questioning vaccines. And then all of a sudden, he's super pro-vax. He's Operation Warp Speed pro-vax. So, and then what did that do? After it was all said and done, he fucking killed the vaccine industry, because
that's exactly right.
He killed it. Whether he did it on purpose or not, whether it was the plan, it's what happened. There's no vaccine. They wanted vaccine passports so bad. Vaccine passports are fucking in the toilet. And it was because of Operation Warp Speed. So when he says, when he brags about being the father of the vaccine, and don't forget, I'm the one who did the vaccine. Don't you forget. I really think, or I think he's saying that I'm the one who killed the vaccine industry. I'm the one. You know, so I'm hoping that's, you know, like with Elon Musk. He brings in Elon. He goes, "How do I kill this electric car bullshit? Let me partner up with Elon." And then everyone hates fucking Teslas now, and he basically killed it. And now they're like enemies again. So it seems like he knows. And I'm hoping, you know, and then like with him and JD Vance and Palantir and Peter Thiel. Nobody knew what Palantir was 8 months ago. Nobody knew who Peter Thiel was. No one had any fucking idea. Now everybody knows. So did Trump put a spotlight on him? And just like people say, "Whoa, why didn't Trump fire Fauci if he's so evil? How come he left again?" If he would have fired Fauci in the beginning, no one even would know who Fauci is. He would be, and now everybody knows who he is, and he can't walk the streets. So I'm hoping, like, I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping that he just puts spotlights on people. Like maybe he's putting a spotlight on Palantir. Maybe, like, because no one knew what that was. And now everybody knows, like, dude, there's all these articles and all these posts about how Palantir is going to surveil everything and they're evil. And Peter Thiel is like having a seminar on the Antichrist or something like that. So everybody knows that now. So whether Donald Trump is doing it on purpose or not, it is exposing all this shit, right? And no one knew what AIPAC was, and nobody knew nobody had any idea what AIPAC was, and the influence of the Israeli lobby and you know registering as a foreign fucking law. No one had any. I didn't even know. Now I know. I'm like, damn, AIPAC. Like, oh, damn, I didn't know they were doing that shit. You know, so
I think Trump is a catalyst for truth. Right? He doesn't tell us what the answer is, because if he did tell us what the answer is at the wrong time, we would reject it. And we've seen that happen.
Over and over again. That's what I was just talking about. Over and over again.
That COVID was a hoax. Yeah.
Yeah.
He told us that COVID was a hoax. We're like, no, sir. You're just not trusting the scientists enough.
Yeah.
And it always gets rejected, and then the fight happens over however long it takes, and then the former view goes away. So if you look at the thing with Israel right now, right? October 7th, 2023, I call it the paragliding go-kart incident. They flew paragliding go-karts over the most heavily secured border in the history of the world with a year's advanced warning. And the guys then landed and attacked a music festival that was just moved to that location 2 days before. And then this whole war starts, right? And so after 2 years of this quote unquote war, which is, in my estimation, really just a construction project and a migration of people, after 2 years of this, the view of Israel as our greatest ally, totally gone. Right? The story behind Israel's creation, now widely known.
Yes.
The understanding for Zionism, everyone understands it.
Yeah.
The understanding of Israeli paramilitary groups, everyone understands it. The terrorist organizations, everyone understands it. You know, it's an awakening over time being generated by stories that we are being told through mass media, because we are entirely dependent on mass media telling us what our world is. You know, it's not enough to have our direct experience with the people around us. It's not enough to get involved in the local community. We have to watch this never-ending political soap opera and devote our lives to it as though it's a sport, and we care about which side wins. We are so far off a reality-based path as a society. And I think Donald Trump, as a catalyst of truth, is making us face all these things. And people don't want to face the fact that they've been lied to about this much shit, and that their deeply held beliefs, their opinions about people, the terrible things they've said, the terrible things they've done, they don't want to think, oh my God, all of that was wrong, and I am actually accountable in my soul for the wrong that I have done, right? We don't want to get to that point. So instead, we deny the truth when it comes to us. But I don't know that there has been a greater catalyst of truth on this earth since Jesus Christ than Donald Trump is right now. And he doesn't even have to be a good guy to have filled that role. You know what I mean? So I don't need to make a judgment on this rich, powerful stranger I don't know. All I need to focus on is what effect he's producing in the world. And I think the effect he has produced in the world is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. I talked about him being pro-vax to expose vaccines, him being pro-Elon to expose, the climate hoax and electric vehicles, and then being pro
and space.
That's another thing. Space Force. He's like, oh, I'm gonna build a new military branch, Space Force. So
Space Force is our ether war fighting division.
Yeah. So do you think that he's doing the same thing with the Epstein files? Like by him saying, oh, there's no Epstein files. They're so boring. Why are you still talking about it? It's boring. And then everyone goes, what? The Epstein files are real. So they're accusing him of being on the files. Maybe he is on the files. I don't know. But, I'm hoping he's not on the files. He could be. I'm hoping. Damn, it would suck if he is, man. God damn.
Man. It could be exactly what he's saying. The whole thing could be a hoax, major 20-year op to have available to destroy any elite who was ever connected to the man, right? It could be a long-term anti-Trump op. There are reasons to believe that Trump has kind of been in the mix of being the guy selected by the military to take on this role that he's playing while control of our country is seized back from that global entity. Trump is leading us through the story that brings us to the realization of what our actual existence is in this country. Our country was taken over generations ago, right? Our Constitution is not even active. And we're not able to come to terms with it because we have all these faith-based connections to how we thought things were.
Yeah. So do you think that by Trump going, oh, there's no files, he called it, the fact that he said the whole Epstein thing is boring to me, that sounds like it's like code for I'm putting the spotlight on this. Watch everyone get on the Epstein files. I don't know.
But what happens if Jeffrey Epstein, everybody believes he's an intelligence construct, right? Most people believe that his purpose as an intelligence construct was to acquire blackmail that made powerful people controllable. And maybe that's true. Maybe everything that people believe about the pedophilia and the island and the rest of it is true. It's totally possible that it's true. I'm not denying it. But at the same time, I also don't know that it's true. And I know that the people who have communicated all that stuff to me are unreliable narrators. Netflix documentaries, mainstream media, strangers online who get obsessed with these things. And I understand that issue is particularly fraught emotionally because people are like, well, we have to save these kids. And I agree. But at the same time, Donald Trump is actually dismantling systematic human trafficking in the world, that comes through our borders. Drugs, weapons, humans, all trafficked in a global program run by NGOs and UN migration and participated in by cartels or transnational corporations, all of it, right? He's shutting down system level human trafficking on a massive scale. And people are mad because they're not going to get to call John Legend a pedophile until they see these files. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We could be wrong. We always have to think. Yeah. We have our conspiracy theories about everything. We think everybody else agrees. Oh, it's this way. We can always be wrong about that shit.
Yeah. And the crazy thing now is all the Russiagate thing is fucking, it is all out, and Tulsi Gabbard is going fucking, all out and blitzkrieging this shit, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? Everyone forgot about Russiagate, and Trump always said they were spying on me, and I caught them all. He always said that. I caught them all and we're going to get them. And people are like, what happened to that? What happened? And it seems like now more than ever, I don't know, it could be bullshit, but it seems like Obama is in some hot water when it comes to Russiagate. I mean, when you look into all that shit, it's finally coming out after all these years, almost 10 years. It's finally coming out, and Tulsi Gabbard is all over it. People say, oh, it's a distraction from the Epstein files. I mean, it could be.
Yeah, I don't think it's a distraction from the Epstein files. The Epstein files are a distraction from Russiagate, the COVID stuff, the fake elections. You can go down a list. And one of the real tells in this situation is, remember when all those like conning grifters, the influencers with the big accounts online went to the White House and like held up those binders that had nothing in them and made themselves a big deal?
What do you think that was?
That to me looked like a humiliation ritual against adversarial information operators, and an opportunity to say to the people, to communicate very clearly, hey, something's a little off with this Epstein thing.
Yeah, god damn. He could be alive, right? I mean,
bro, he could not even exist as far as I'm concerned.
He definitely exists. There's enough video. There's enough video that he exists, right?
Bro, there's video of all sorts of shit on the online right now, created by AI that looks like it was not created by AI. And I am certain that the people who are releasing AI now have been using that shit themselves for decades. You know what I mean?
Do you subscribe to the YouTube channel My Lunch Break?
No.
Oh, dude.
I'm not familiar with it at all.
Oh, dude, that's going to blow you the fuck away, dude. It's going to blow you the
What's
fuck
it like?
away. It's basically all on history and the old world.
Like Tartaria and stuff like that?
Yeah. You're going to get hooked. You're going to get it. My Lunch Break he's the man, dude. He fucking crushes. And right there it says they already had AI. You see that one? It came out last week. They already had AI. You have to watch.
I will watch that
one, dog. Because he's basically going back through old documents from the 40s, and they already AI. Think about this. All of a sudden, there's this AI that speaks like a normal human being, super articulate, and knows everything. What happened? Usually, you would think that would be a dumb AI first. He'd be
I think AI is pretty dumb right now.
No, talking slow and broken English and shit. You asking a question, go, I don't know. Let me think about that one. I think that was 1942 when that happened, but I'm not sure. No, right away, it's a super intelligent, super articulate voice. Sounds like a fucking human. So this episode is basically saying that there's he's going through old documents where they're already recognizing that there's already, before computers, they had discovered that there is this, we didn't discover electricity, we didn't create electricity. Electricity was already here. We're just learning to harness it. AI was already here, created by the old world, and we're rediscovering it. It's like some kind of simulation, Akashic records that was already there, and it was waiting to be rediscovered, and they found it. And I don't know, dude, you got to watch that episode, dude. It's fucking mind blowing. He said they already had AI. AI is old.
I agree that it's old.
Yeah.
It's totally possible that it could have been in existence for that entire time. I'm not sure they rediscovered it. I think that it was just hidden, and now it's being disclosed to the public. Oh, this thing exists. Oh, actually, you can't believe your eyes when it comes to what you see on the screen. We think that the screen is our window to the real world and our window to truth. And it might be those two things to some extent, but it's also the opposite of that. Through that window, we can retrieve all kinds of deception, including about the state of our cosmos, of our existence, of our spirituality, of our linkage to God, about what is around us. We can be deceived by absolutely all that shit.
Yeah.
And the old world thing, I think, is really interesting because if you consider, if I'm right about what's happening right now and the two sides of this battle and that our side is winning, at a certain point, the people who have control over a great part of the world can simply smash their toys into a million pieces, right? They can take away our electric grid. They can take away our cell phones. They can take away our video games. Everything, every way we've learned to live in this world can be destroyed. They can bomb out our cities so that there are no places to live. And we would be right back to a primitive state that existed thousands of years ago. So to think that that has never happened, like, bro, that's, I look at that old world stuff. I don't know the answer, of course, but I think, oh yeah, that could happen. I could see how that could happen. I could see how we could end up being part of somebody else's old world.
Yeah, the little season, I never really got to that. I'm going to give it to you really short and sweet. The mainstream narrative for Christians is we're waiting for Jesus to come back. Jesus is going to come back. We got to be ready. Jesus is going to come back. Well, the little season is like, there's like biblical scholars who are going, yo, Jesus already came back. Look at this verse. Look at what fucking this apostle said. Look what this apostle said. He's saying Jesus came back in their lifetime, not in 2,000 years. So according to Paul Stobbs, he's got a YouTube channel called, he was on my podcast. We did a whole podcast on this. Cool. It's called Understanding Conspiracies. He's a biblical scholar, and it's growing. People are like going, whoa. According to Revelations, if you believe in Revelations, it says Jesus had a 1,000-year millennial reign. It already happened. That's where all these structures all over the world, all these cathedrals, they were built by the Jesus millennial reign, the angels. It was 1,000 years of 1,000 years of Satan being chained to hell. There's no Satan. It's just Jesus and the apostles ruling the world for 1,000 years. And then in Revelations, it says after the 1,000-year millennial reign, Jesus will unchain Satan from hell and let him test everybody, and he'll rule over the nations of the world. And they're saying that was like in the 1700s. Like in the 1700s, Satan was released, and now Jesus is sitting back. Maybe he's in the North Pole or something. He's sitting back, and everyone's being tested. So we're currently starting from like the 1700s. This is the theory. Since the 1700s, now we're in the little season. And if you look at Revelations, it says it's called the little season when Satan is loose after the 1,000-year millennial reign of Jesus Christ. And we're being tested. And then Jesus is going to come back again, and then another millennial reign. I don't know anything about the Bible. I just know what people are telling me. But it seems like Satan is running the nations of the world. That's what it seems like. It seems like we are in the little season. Look up Paul Stobbs, Understanding Conspiracy, or you could actually look in Paul Stobbs. Look into it on my podcast. It's on Rumble.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Dude, it's fascinating stuff, man. And there's a lot of resistance, a lot of Christians are like, this is, blasphemy. How could you say that? That's not what it says. But then Paul Stobbs and the people that are into this, they got all the Bible verse. They go, it's all right here. It says Jesus coming back in the apostles' lifetime. Jesus never said he was coming back in 2,000 years. Yeah. And in Revelations, it says there was 1,000-year millennial reign. That would explain all the Tartarian structures that were like, how are you building these fucking palaces without power tools and with horse and buggy technology with like hammers and chisels? It explains the whole Tartaria mystery. It explains it. Like that was the millennial reign. That was all these structures. So now they're destroying. They destroy as many of these structures as possible. And now they're hiding. Like Tartaria is not even in the history books. They're like erasing that shit. You still see it in Tartaria in old maps. They go, Tartaria, it's there. And there's structures along the West Coast in like who knows when they were built? Like these fucking palaces and castles along the West Coast. I thought they say they built them in the 1850. I thought it was cowboys and Indians in the 18th, like the Wild West. I thought it was, and then you start thinking like now, like, oh shit, that's what cowboys and Indians, that's what all those spaghetti westerns are about. Those spaghetti westerns, they got you to get everyone to believe that the West, the United States, was just fucking cowboys and Indians and shacks. When these cities were already here, you go to every major city, there's buildings that are you can't explain how they built them. You go to downtown LA, there's some cathedrals that are like in the middle of the city, next to some bullshit ass buildings that were obviously built in recent times. And then there's like this amazing structure. Like, who built this when? You built this in 1870? Like, how did you build this? And we can't even build it now. So, anyways, Little Season, look into it. Yo, thank you, man. I'm so glad. I rarely have someone on my podcast that I don't know. I usually have people that I know and I'm fans of. I didn't know shit about you, but I trusted John Harold.
Smart guy.
Yeah. He's on his YouTube channels, his Rumble channels, Badlands Media, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, Badlands Media is an alt media collective that John founded and started. And then there's, I don't know, 16, 17 creators that do shows on Rumble. So Badlands is putting out shows like all evening, every day. And in the morning, there's a news show. In the afternoon, John does his hour where he gives his take on what's happening. There's just shows throughout the day, every day. Okay. We've been doing it for 2 years. So I'm like a contributor to Badlands. John's the founder of that. So he's become one of my dearest friends. I think the guy is just a fantastic dude and a really smart guy.
I trusted him. And you know what? I'm happy that I trusted him because we just had an awesome 2.5 hours, man. I really enjoyed this. How could my audience find you?
Well, I'm a little bit off the map right now. I have been doing a podcast constantly for 5 years up until a couple of weeks ago. I'm trying to write a book right now, so I've stepped back from doing the podcast currently. Still writing, still publishing writing. Go to imyourmoderator.substack.com. In terms of social media, I'm only on Truth Social and on Telegram. I'm Your Moderator on Truth Social and t.me/veryreasonable on Telegram. And you can find me that way.
Awesome. Chris Paul, thank you very much. We're going to do this again, man. I really had fun, man.
Would love to. All right.
All right, dude. Thank you. See ya.
The Jiu-Jitsu Dojo is the ultimate training ground for life. Jiu-Jitsu will accelerate the evolution of your being, your consciousness, your soul. Through this amazing art, you will prove to yourself that you can master anything you set your mind to.
Happy birthday, Eddie Bravo.
I leave for Brazil tomorrow.
Are you the Fear Factor guy?
I'm like 6 pounds over. Time to sweat it out. Just imagine someone that has no idea how different your game is.
I'll tell you what this weekend was, man. It was a culmination point where all your hard work comes to like one great moment in time. You showed that you're a fucking champion, guy who goes against convention. You created your own shit and figured interesting ways to get around problems in jiu-jitsu. And shows you that great things are possible if you work hard, if you dedicate yourself, and you use your creativity, and you push through. Your own human potential just goes up.
My 10th Planet Association has grown rapidly to over 70 academies worldwide, and their curriculums are all synced to 10th Planet headquarters located in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Eddie Bravo. I hope to see you on the mats.